Hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of my series on Is Krav Maga Effective? Now, if you haven't seen part 1, please go back and do that. We cover the history, I show some demos that are done, I make my critiques about that part of the training. Now, we're going to go into part 2. Part 2 is going to be showing more training, and I'm going to be going over whether or not I think what they're attempting is actually going to get them the results they're looking for. But before we do that, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel. The only way this channel gets shared is through you. I can't count on YouTube, getting the word out, especially when we're talking about, your self-protection, self-defense. It's just being suppressed these days. So thank you so much for all the great comments that I'm getting. And I'm really looking forward to giving you part 2 of Is Krav Maga Effective? Looks, because what I'm trying to get you to understand is that you don't want to rely on being bigger, faster, stronger. You don't want to rely on athleticism. Because I assume whoever you're up against is always going to be bigger, faster, and stronger, right? And again, I'm talking about weapons. Did you notice in some of the takeaways there, did you notice that the focus was on getting the weapon away from the person? We'll see more of that in this video.
Just go for it. When you train in Krav Maga, the most common gear that will protect your body, for example, a cup for the groin, and shins for your legs, and boxing gloves or MMA gloves. The drill we do, where we'll put everybody on the ground, we'll have them just laying down, and I will randomly pick A, B, and C to be an attacker. And everyone else doesn't know who is it, you know what I mean? And so when I say go, the attacker needs to attack, and the victim needs to fight back.
What happened in Israel or in France or anywhere else?
Okay, a couple of things, little pet peeves of mine. First of all, the terminology, attacker, victim. You're never a victim. You cannot put that in your mind. Words actually matter. You are always the person that's doing the violence in your mind. You cannot sit there and say, well, I'm the victim in this situation. There is no victim. One person's doing the violence, the other person's receiving the violence. You want to be the one doing the violence to somebody. How you speak to people is absolutely critical. Also, wearing the protective gear. Did you just notice the chaos? They're doing a multi-man situation. And we used to joke about this. It's like, years ago when we first learned, we would have people circle us, and the instructor would go, go! And it was freaking chaos. Everybody'd come in, and it was just a mishmash. And usually the guy in the middle that was getting attacked, he was fine. He was delivering injuries. It's the people coming in. It was just a mishmash. And you really didn't learn anything other than it scared the hell out of you. And again, not a good way to learn multi-man. I understand the drill they're trying to do, but from what I saw in the movement, I just saw a lot of people just being chaotic, ineffective in their strikes, probably couldn't see correctly. Safety gear is a double-edged sword. I've found for the most part, it's highly ineffective to use gear. Now, I know that's controversial. I know a lot of people love it. I know there's a huge industry around it. I'm not saying it's not appropriate at certain times, but the way I tend to look at the use of safety gear is the same way I see real killers look at gear. And one of the stories that I always talk about is the fact that, I had a corrections officer that had me watch a video of 2 guys, and they were just sitting there training super slow, going real weird angles with their knives. And there were 2 members of the Black Gorilla family. It was at a penitentiary. And the corrections officer asked me, hey, what do you think they're doing? And strange angles that they were coming in at, but it looked like they were stimulating stabbing. And I said to him, I don't know, is it some, jailhouse martial art or something? We were kind of joking. He goes, no. He goes, yesterday, we had a fight in the yard. And, everybody went into the yard, and there was a big fight. The SWAT team, the prison CERT team, the Corrections Emergency Response Team, went out and deployed and broke the fight up. Now, when you watch the video, if you just pay attention to the fight, you don't really learn that much, because you see the guys go in there and they pull everybody apart and get them, under control, cuff them up, take them away. If you look again at the video, you watch the rest of the prisoners in the yard. They're all down on the ground, and what are they doing? They're watching. So the guy said, the corrections officer said to me, he goes, guess what? He goes, they staged that fight. The reason they staged that fight is because the CERT team just got new gear, and they'd never seen the new gear. And the two guys that I saw practicing in the initial video were exploiting all of the areas of the gear where they could put a shank into the gear. Now, to me, that's the way I look at equipment. How can you exploit it? That's how the killers look at it. Using it oftentimes is ineffective because you're going to cover areas of the human body and you're going to strike ineffectively, and you're not going to really learn that much using it. Yes, you have to be careful and you have to protect areas of the human body, but really you want to use a human body that doesn't have anything on it, just like the human body you're going to face when you need to use this information. You're not going to face somebody that has a big, Roby Robot helmet on with a bunch of padding and stuff like that. And if you did have anybody that had, say, like a motorcycle helmet on or something, you'd want to go up under the neck. You'd want to go to the vulnerable areas. You wouldn't waste time pounding the helmet. So that's one of the pet peeves I have about that. Again, going way too fast, and the equipment is suspect on whether or not it's actually useful.
These are actually the same type of groups. This is what this is for.
So Krav Maga is for the worst case scenario, period. Is when you're out of ammo. Like I can't even use the gun anymore. I gotta use my Krav Maga. I gotta use my hands and my legs. I gotta use the gun as a cold weapon. To the dead side here. See now it's harder.
Remember that move he's doing. You're gonna see it in this video.
Wow.
Okay, here's the problem. Everything that she just did had no body weight behind it, had no follow through. The goal was seemingly to get the weapon taken away. Here's my problem with that. What do you know about the weapon? You don't know anything. You don't know if it's loaded. You don't know if it's, if you can operate it. You don't even know if it's functioning. And yet you left the other person, look, he's standing up, he can think, he can move, he's still dangerous. Again, it's the principles. You have to have the right principles overall. What are the principles that we teach? You leave somebody non-functional. Okay, I could care less whether or not I get the weapon in my hand and do a takeaway and all that stuff. And again, a lot of what they were showing, the motor movement to do that's really, really difficult to do under stress. Whereas injury is actually very easy to do under stress. Okay, and again, it's how you train people. Do you have principles? Remember, showing a technique, a cool technique. That's what you saw right here, a cool technique. A cool technique with no body weight, with no real accuracy as far as injury to the human body. And the goal was to take away the weapon and then point it back at the person, leaving them with a thinking brain. I would much rather have seen the person taken to non-functional, and then when you know the person is no longer able to operate, if you want to pick up the weapon at that point, fine. I see this a lot in a lot of the Krav that I see. A big focus on taking weapons away before the other person is non-functional. That's highly dangerous. Okay, we're going to pause there for part 2 of Is Krav Maga Effective? Now I got one more part 3. That'll be the next video that you'll see. There, we're going to look at another instructor. He is actually in Israel, and he is going to talk about the differences between what he calls commercial Krav Maga and real Krav Maga. Then I'll have my closing comments and show a little bit about what I think is really important for you when you're training for your self-protection. But again, please subscribe to the channel. And if you like this information, you want to go way more in depth where I can also be a lot more direct and blunt with you, go to surviveviolence.com, give us your email address, and we'll give you a lot of great free content. Thanks for watching.